another author energy today. Yay! There she is! Hi, babe!
Ah,
Yay! So guys, this is Sondra Hunt. I'm so excited that you're joining us today, girl. Uh, we met because of our mutual affinity for essential oils. And I'm so glad I met this girl. I had no idea when I met you that you would feel very quickly like family because we were kind of just, obsessed with oils and talking about all of that and connecting very easily in that way. But what blows me away is this gorgeous mutual energetic connection that I feel
yeah.
so much ease with you because just of who you are and just how much we have in common. I'll just leave it there. Little mystery.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. But no, it takes one to know one. I feel the same. I feel the same things.
Well, would you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you've got so much going on, and I just want people to get a taste of the passion that you've got and just get to know you a little bit. Where are
Hey,
you coming
Suzanne.
from? Oh, hi,
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
I am currently I'm sitting in the middle of Atlanta. This summer I'm going to be a little bit of a nomad through the
Amazing.
southeast. Yeah, but it's so funny when people ask you that. Like, I'm just me. I just do what I do. Yeah, I am
Well, it's because
born
it's
in.
natural for you. It's like
Oh, you're
you love
sweet.
life, and I think people who love life, like, it's just so infectious to just to be around you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, I born and raised in Georgia. My parents met in the Vietnam War, and that's kind of how I'm a little bit of a hybrid of that situation.
Amazing.
And then I left. I actually moved to the Philadelphia area, and then I went to acting school in New York, and that's how I met that community. And that's kind of like how the whole New York thing happened. And so then 2016, I moved here back home. And then I went and spent the summer in LA and then came back. And my whole life since 34, 35 revolved around acting. But I
Hmm.
can't say that that's the situation anymore.
It's
But
evolved, yeah.
all paths have led me back to Georgia and the Southeast for sure. Definitely after 2020, I was very happy to be in this area. Yeah. So
Yeah. And guys, don't you just love her accent? Like every time I hear you talk, I'm just like, just read the phone book to me, Sandra.
and
Like
the sad thing,
seriously.
and the sad thing's down here, people don't think I have an accent.
Oh,
So
that's
it's so
of
it's
course they
wild.
don't. Of course they
Yeah,
don't.
it's wild.
The draw's a little longer, right? A little longer. Well,
Exactly.
Sandra is one of our brilliant minds who's contributed to this compilation book, Raise the Vibration, a weekly guide. And just for those of you who don't know what that is, you know how it happens, guys, right? You hear this little nudge or you get this little push. And in March of 2020, when the lockdown started happening, as a teacher and a community organizer and just somebody who wants to help and be of service, be purposeful, as we all do on some level, I just said, what can I do? Like, what can I do to help people through this experience? Because there's just fear levels, monumental fear levels. And that's never a good thing for our health or to resolve the issue. So even though we go to it all the time, right? So I just heard this voice like, get them to focus on their resilience. And I thought, okay, well, how do I do that? And I thought, well, everybody has gone through something in their life where they feel like they have overcome something. Like we don't give ourselves a lot of credit, don't we? We are where we wanted to be so badly, maybe last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago or when we were little kids. And so I thought if I can just have my people in my life focus on their resilience and share that story, and storytelling is so powerful, then perhaps that can be healing for all of us and give me something purposeful to do with my time as well. So Sandra agreed. There ended up being 52 authors in total. So this is a weekly guide to raise your vibration. Each author wrote a story of 1,000 words or less. So it's like, I know that was a challenge, right, Sandra?
Yeah.
I think
I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, that was
I think
tough,
all
but
my
it's fun.
authors were so mad at me. They're like, "What, 1,000?" I'm like, "Yes, 1,000. We got to stick to it." And because of that, the stories pack such a punch, and they're so quick and so condensed with just so much wisdom and experiential wisdom. And then from that, then each chapter is 5 pages long. So you've got your two stories, you've got quotes, you've got journaling prompts, essential oils to help with that week's theme. And your theme, which I think is a huge, beautiful, common theme for really most humans, is the theme is not good enough.
Yeah.
And the story, oh my God. And I just can't, I'm going to zip it soon and just let you talk because this not good enough. I mean, as a coach, as somebody who's, been through a lot of my own processing and as a teacher, this is such a common root for so many of us. And it's because we have this delusional appearance or view of ourselves, and yet it can be such a gift. And I want you to talk about, Sandra, why you chose this story, because this story, the title is Leap of Faith. And so many times we have to be in that chasm of where we are, between where we are, and where we want to go. And that requires us getting outside our comfort zone, feeling like a fraud, stepping into something where we just don't have our footing or familiarity. So why did you write this story? Why this one? Because
Woo,
you have so many things you've done.
as you were talking, I just felt it all right here too. I was like, wow, I realized I still have some of that in me. Um,
Always, always.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had a friend who unfortunately went down a very bad path. And I was very saddened by that. And so something that I noticed that he said one time he posted was, broken dreams have far more broken me than any relationship or anything that's happened to me in my life.
Mm.
And I think that that really sat with me because of the whole. I mean, you did the acting thing, so it's
Yeah.
brutal. It's
Right.
brutal, and it's brutal in ways that people will never understand unless they're doing it. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
will, but like it's very multifaceted in how brutal it is. And you're always being told you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not this, you're not that, you have an accent, you have this, or you're too old, you're too young, or you're too, and then and but what was interesting about that whole scenario to me was how it was in every aspect of my life, past relationships,
Mm-hmm.
childhood stuff. I look back in some of the sports that I played, and I could see, just things like it has been a theme in my life. So it's obviously a karmic lesson for me in this life. And did I choose the ultimate to work it out? Needless to say.
My goodness. Yes.
Yeah. So when he said that broken dream thing, I felt that there's a correlation that often we don't achieve what we are so capable of doing in this life, not realizing how
Mm.
powerful we are because we don't think we're good enough, or that we're not enough, maybe is even better. Like, who am I to go out and do something so big? And, there
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that you shared that quote because that your friend shared with you because it's like I heard an interview just yesterday and it was a beautiful interview. I can't remember this person's name, but she was talking about how she so much preferred the uncomfortability of going after what she really wanted to do and pursuing that and facing that fear of being a fraud or being not enough than living with the regret of unattained potential.
Ugh, yeah. Actually, I don't know if she's still on the call. My friend that was watching, we were having
Yeah.
lunch one day, and I was like, I said, my biggest fear in life, I don't go to sleep at night wondering, okay, am I going to meet the love of my life, or am I going to have children, or I was never that person. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think all that's amazing, and I always wanted that too.
Hmm.
But the thing that keeps me up at night is, am I on mission? Am I doing what I came here to do? And that's why I think we have these big dreams. It's the universe or God's way of telling you this is your mission. And I have had, just since a kid, so many sleepless nights about, am I really here doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, I can definitely relate to that myself, and
That's
because
very broad, but you know, I could go on for hours and hours and hours about that, but yeah.
oh yeah, I look forward when we could do that actually together, you and I, a little bit more than we have already, right?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
it brings to mind that, oh gosh, oh my gosh, this is so cool how this is how life happens, the miracles,
I
like the
know,
little
I know.
sort of
I've got the
magical.
I've got it too. I feel it too.
And all of
The
the, oh,
energy too.
so
Yeah.
when you hear this, okay, you know John Mayer, of course, right?
Yeah. He lived here in Atlanta for a little while before he broke it big. He was in the music scene here.
Oh, that's
Yeah, yeah,
right. I think
yeah.
well,
I
he
didn't
wrote a
know him, but
song,
yeah.
Why Georgia Why,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah,
And
yeah,
in
yeah,
that song you said the chorus, when I heard that song for the first time, I was like, "Whoa." Like I felt
yeah.
like it says, am I living it right? Am I living it right?
He's a
And
very talented guy.
he's so
He's
brilliant.
insanely talented. Yeah.
Yeah, and I Anthony, my husband, those of you who don't know me, but Anthony always makes fun of me because I make up lyrics all the time. So even as I was sharing that, I'm like, is that really lyrics? Because when I when I heard that song, I thought, am I living it right? That was like my mantra, I feel like, throughout my whole life. And what I'm hearing that in you too, it's like, am I on purpose? Am I on task? Am I living the life? Would I be making God proud? Would I be who's given me this beautiful opportunity, this my
I'm
parents
about to tear
proud?
up because I
And
totally get what you're saying. Yes, yes,
and
yeah.
that's beautiful, even though it's torturous. Like this whole like not enough voice and this wondering like, am I doing enough with my life? Every part of us has a beneficial part and a shadow part. We know that. So, but what I'm hearing, like, especially in your story, and don't give away too much because I want them to read it. It's so beautiful. You even wrote like your core, like your creed, like what you came to. Talk a little bit about that and your story, like, because I feel like I want to hear what you want the reader to take away. And there's so much.
Yeah. So it was interesting because that story, it was the first time I tried to put it on paper. Like it was in my head, right? Because it's, it's that pivotal moment in your life. And we have several, but that one was kind of the most recent pivotal moment because it's when I left New York. And, and so I just kept hearing the story in my head, but it was the first time I'm like, okay, I need to make this have a beginning, middle, and an end, right? And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing that, but and
Mm.
repeat the question just to make sure that I answer it because I will go off on a tangent.
Oh, girl, well, that's what we do as women, don't we? We're like, the question is
The
that
mantra,
creed that
yeah.
you wrote, and then also like you gave everything to your acting, and you
Mhm.
did every course, you did so much work, and really, I mean, if anybody was going to make it, it
I
would
could
have
have
been
paid it.
you, right?
Oh,
That,
and I could have
yeah,
paid for and bought a home in cash.
right.
The
Isn't that?
resources that I spent and that yeah, I think my creed, it was that summer that it was interesting because when everything fell apart, and by the way, that show has come back to me since I've written that story. So it's actually going to happen. I just don't know the
Oh
date for
my
it. They asked me to
gosh.
come back. I'm one of the 3 people they asked to come back. So I'm sitting on it. So there is a very happy ending after
Wow,
all
that's
of this,
awesome.
right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Always. We
think,
just have to
yeah,
wait for it, right? We just
but
have to wait.
yeah, and I think what so that's the beginning, middle, and end. So here, that's the end, right? It all did end up working out, just not how I thought it was going to.
It never does,
But
right? It's never the
yeah,
first plan.
I think the big thing, the takeaway for me is when I left New York and I wanted to go spend some time in California,
Mhm.
and I asked the universe, am I on? I was like, I'm feeling pulled to Southern California, and I'm walking my dogs at the time in Jersey City down like an alley, and then a car pulled up with California tags.
Oh,
So I went home, I put everything in storage, came to Georgia. Then Jada called me when she was living in
yes.
LA, and she said, will you come live in my apartment? I need someone to watch Bailey.
Hmm.
So I ended up in LA for the summer. I didn't pay for anything.
Oh
She
my
even let me have her
gosh.
car.
Oh my gosh. And you got to hang out with the cutest puppy dog ever.
Ever. Traveling bulldog Bailey.
Oh yeah.
And essential oils everywhere because she couldn't take her oils with her. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's kind of when that all came together for me. I'm like, okay, there's something bigger happening here,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
can't see it. And I think if I were to see it now, I would be intimidated by how I'm going to get it done. And that's kind of how it
Yes.
all came together. And then since then it's been amazing. Like and I never completely, I don't want people to think I gave up on it. That's not what happened at all. I just, life evolved a different way, and now I'm in this place where I choose the work that I want to do, and that's not what I was doing before. I'm like, whatever work you'll give me,
Mhm.
I'll take it. It's like, whatever you'll do, I'll take
Yeah.
it. Like anything,
Yeah.
just give it to me. And now I'm at this
Yeah.
place, I'm like, if it's not in alignment with me,
Mhm.
if it's not doing what I want it, if it's not the message that I want to put out in the world, then I don't want it. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my soul to look back at this one day and go, oh, that's out there. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
and then like it just all has unfolded very beautifully. I couldn't be happier. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't
And
even think I answered your question, but
no, you did. You did. I want to highlight a couple of things what you did say because like in just having we can put our faith into our own unworthiness. We can put our faith into fear. We can put our faith into somebody else's story or somebody else's expectation of us. Or we can put our faith into that our story is unfolding perfectly, that we can't see exactly what it's looking like. But as long as we're staying true to our own alignment, our own integrity, our own vision, our own nudging, nurturing voices that are kind of pushing us in certain directions,
yeah.
then
And all
then we
that
have peace.
training, yeah, all that training, it was enough because they came back to me. So it was
Yeah.
crazy. But
Well,
it was just
what's
years later, and I was in such a different place as a human being that I was so empowered to say, well, under these conditions, and I
mm-hmm.
would have never done that before. I'm like, I'll just be poor until it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will
Well,
accept less. I will take less than what I'm worthy of.
well, yeah, it's just like just with the hands out, like the beggar archetype of like just give me an
Yes.
opportunity.
Yeah, yes.
And that world, I mean, I started in that world as well and quickly left it after I moved to New York about a year afterwards because I thought I don't want to constantly be in this position of waiting for somebody to give me the opportunity to maybe do a show that I believed in or play a role that I believed in and maybe not. Like we all have this gift and that was just my story. There's another actress in the book who wrote a story and her whole message about like I didn't need it. The second she let go of needing that external affirmation, that's
Yes.
that's when it happened in the way
And
that it
it
happened for
flow,
her.
yeah. And it just like, it's insane since all of that because I did a national commercial and I've had some of the biggest auditions I've ever had in my life. But now I'm just like, all right, if it happens, it happens. But like, there are other, what it came down to is I also realized I'm a performer at heart. And I'm also one of those people, like, I want to see people become the best versions of themselves. And I wanted to use that as a platform
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's Hollywood is painted for us what success looks like, right?
Right.
And so what I've realized, I'm like, well, that's under a lot of interesting rules because you got to play by their rules. And I want to play by my rules.
And a lot of interesting filters. A lot of
Yeah.
interesting filters. You only
Quite
see what you
literally.
see.
Yeah, literally and
We are
figuratively.
unfiltered here. We're unfiltered on Instagram.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
but so many filters of what we think other people are like. Like we'll hold people up on pedestals and then we see them act in certain ways and are really or speak in certain ways that are not necessarily in who we are aligned what we're aligned with.
Yep.
And it takes immense amount of courage to own who you are. And yes, you might have been able to buy a house in cash with all that you invested into those classes. However, all of that investment is in your house, like in who you
Yeah.
are. And I mean, it shows in just your radiance and your
Oh,
wisdom in the
thank you.
story. Yeah, it really does,
Thank
Sondra.
you.
And you know, in mentioning like having faith in the unfolding, and then also recognizing that what is the most important thing, because we can have that dangling carrot right in front of our
Ugh,
face of like,
yeah.
this is what I need to do in order to be a good actress or good sister or a good daughter
Partner.
or good
Right, right,
partner or
right,
whatever it
right.
is. And then we have this tunnel focus where we forget about all of the other things that we're desiring. And it's like, you know, you got to just give up having a social life, give up having any other dreams. You got to go in all the way or you won't be enough.
And well, that someone once said in it was a group thing that they did for, it was for actors at the time, but it was very similar to the personal work that I was doing, but that like we're chasing a feeling, like, oh, when I get this I will finally feel successful,
Yes,
or I'll feel
yes.
validated, or I'll made it, I'll made it win type of thing.
Yeah.
And what we're chasing is really a feeling, and that made a lot of sense to me. And that was one of those things, when you heard it, it sat with me for several days. And I'm like, what am I chasing here? And it's a feeling. And why am I chasing that feeling?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You know that your chakra, each story each week has a chakra assigned to it to have the
Oh, does
reader.
it?
Yeah, it
Oh,
does. So that the author, or the reader rather, focuses on the author's message and then can apply it to their own, integrate it into their own process. And so yours is the fifth chakra, which is all about creation, purpose, responsibility, listening for things in a different way rather, and you know, speaking, communication, of course. But the throat chakra is about like, how can I listen to what I want to step into rather than always just speaking it. And when you shifted your listening about your value, what I saw in this story, when you shifted your listening of your own self and the world and what's possible for your life, that is when I feel like things started opening up. As soon as you let go of the grasping of the should, you know, like this
that
needs to be this way.
energy. Yeah, that
Yeah.
energy. Like, even when you think about it, that energy is very constricted. Like, I got to
Yes.
do it. I got to do it. I got to make it. I got to make it. Yeah. And then there's no allowing, in that
There's
whole
no
process.
co-creation. Like there's just
Mm-mm.
like driving it, and anybody who's really motivated can drive it only so far. That's
And
the masculine.
anything I've ever tried to force, and when I used to say the word force, I don't mean in a get this, I mean, like, anytime that I was like trying to force it to happen on my own will, like more like a sorcerer rather than a high priestess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it never ends well. Like, like those things that you try to, like, I'm supposed to be married and have kids by so and so, so all that stuff
Yeah.
that you're forcing, it's never ended well for me. It's always ended, when I say ended well, it's always ended in a very painful lesson. And I finally, after 2016, which was when all that went down,
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm done with the painful lessons. I'm ready to listen and learn by being inspired.
Oh,
Like, you
beautiful.
don't have to clobber me
Yes.
over the head anymore.
Oh man.
I will listen now. Yeah.
I feel like I developed a
So,
very hard head from all of those really
yeah.
painful lessons.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and
Exactly.
what we're talking about too, which I know, oh, hi Jihan, hi guys. What we're talking about too is the masculine manifesting energy and the feminine manifesting energy, and that we can't negate either one. Like, have a focus, have a structure, have practices that are diligent and disciplined, and then have the energy of your vision, your belief, your faith, the attraction of having, being in alignment, and then using, collaborating with those unseen forces,
Yeah.
whether it be
Allowing.
somebody else, you know,
Yeah.
seen in person in your life, or those unseen. Yeah, allowing, just
And it,
inviting in that help.
and you're always getting messages, like, you'll feel it in your body, like, this doesn't feel right, like, you'll even say it out loud, but we'll continue to, like,
Right.
I remember when we were kind of in rehearsals for the show, I'm like, something about this doesn't feel right, and it was, yeah, and like, it just wasn't time or something. And now that it's come full circle, I'm like, okay, well, it feels right, but now am I ready? Do I want that life anymore? Because now I don't feel like I'm that character. Like, that's not who they originally
Yeah.
cast me as. I don't know that I would be that good in
Mm,
that role anymore. So I don't know. But but I do like
fascinating.
that forced that was a big lesson for me. Like, sitting on the beach in California, I'm like, I have tried to force so much stuff in my life to happen rather than allowing
Mm,
and co-creating with the
mm.
universal magic, because I think there's something bigger here and I'm too focused on one thing. And
Yeah.
and I had an amazing summer. It was the best summer of my life.
Oh,
And
it's
I was in my
awesome.
40s, by the way. So you don't have the best summer of
Woo!
your life in your 20s. So you
I
can't have
I
them
don't
in your
understand, like,
40s
people
too.
saying, like, the best times are in high school or college.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
I
I
was in
don't
my
wanna
mid 40s.
ever say my best time was behind me. Like,
Yep.
why would you ever say that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Well, lastly, you kind of touched on this already, but I just want you to share with the readers because at the end of the book, and this was completely due to Zia, our mutual sister friend,
Oh,
her brilliance. She was like, I think we should add, you know how she just comes out with these nuggets of brilliance. She's like, I think we should add a couple pages at the end, for the reader to write their own story. And I was like, thank you. I feel like so much of my process with this book has just been in blindfolds, and then the next step appears and I take it, and the next step
yeah.
appears and I take it, and just kind of unfolding.
The
So
divine inspiration coming through you. Yeah.
yeah, and this is I never thought I would do like this is not something that was on my to-do list, right? Get a couple and like it just wasn't. But her saying that, I was like, yes. And so we have some pages right at the end where the author can write his or her own story. And I want you to just share for a moment, just like what was the writing of it like? Because storytelling is something that is an ancient, sacred practice to express an experience, to share the wisdom, and to receive kind of like that leg up that all the kind of like 10xer people are like, just, learn from this and get there as fast as you can and hack this and hack that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. And what's beautiful about the story is the journey, and we forget that we're on a journey. We're like, just skip to the end, like the
Yep.
Princess Bride quote.
Result. What's the
Yeah,
result? What's the
exactly.
result? Yeah.
So what was it like for you writing this story? To share with us what that process was like.
I hate to use the word cathartic because I feel like it's so overused, but it was
There's
that,
yes,
like I said, it was,
I love
I
that.
think, and by the way, thank you for asking me to write this story, because it ended up being very healing for me, because I think I finally realized, or I could put into words, why I was supposed to go through that. It
Mm,
was finally that moment for me where I knew that I learned from it and I knew where it guided me to, but I don't think I could have put it into words about like why it had to happen. You know,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
that self worth. Yeah, that self worth and
That's
owning. Yeah.
beautiful. And that's the courage it takes. Because sometimes I feel like we don't go to places like because we are afraid of what we're going to find. When I first start working with clients as a coach, like I feel like that's the common theme of like, oh, I don't want to go there because I might find out that I'm a horrible person, or it might be too much. I might not be able to handle it.
Or
And
buried something from long ago and I'm going to
yes,
uncover it.
and
Yeah.
it's going to destroy me, or,
Yeah. Yeah.
something like
I'm
that.
gonna come unraveled. Yeah. So no, I think for me it was that it was wrapping it up in a bow, and now I can hand it over to someone. Yeah. So as a
Yeah.
gift. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is such a gift. I can't wait for you, those readers who are going to be purchasing the book. I
Oh,
just I
I
just
hope they
scheduled
like
the
this
book release.
story.
It's gonna be so beautiful, cathartic.
You write it then, you're like, okay, now if I could write it now, this is what, there's always that. And,
Yeah.
we always rewrite our stories anyway, because now I'm looking at it through different eyes a couple of years
Yes.
later, even. So it's just, yeah. But
Yeah, they're
it
just going
was
to
a
be so
great
treated to
experience.
your wisdom too around
Thank
this,
you.
because it really to get external affirmation, be super successful with whatever you're doing is such a trap, even though that's what we go for, because then we don't have to do the work it is to really lift ourselves up and own ourselves and give ourselves that affirmation.
And I'm sure when you, like, as you're writing too, like you realize how healing it is, because like the tears are coming out. I'm like,
Oh
oh my
yeah.
gosh, there's still some of this trapped in me and I need to get
Yeah.
it out. And yeah, just, and then to write it on the other side where I did kind of come out on the other end, not totally unscathed, but definitely a warrior.
Yes.
I was like, okay, yeah. But that's the only way I can explain it. It was like a cathartic experience, and it put it all together, and
Mm.
now I've kind of wrapped it up and handing it out to the universe through you. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know the readers will just love this story and be so inspired by it. So thank you so much for
Thank
contributing
you.
to this book. We finally scheduled the release party to be the
Oh,
last
yay.
weekend in June in New York City. So fingers crossed, maybe you can make it. We'll see. I know you're coming from Atlanta. But just so excited for this book to get into print and get into the hands of the readers because I know it's going to create such a beautiful wave of healing for people through storytelling. So
Well, I'm
thank
happy to
you.
be a part. I feel very honored. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. The honor is all mine. I'm so grateful. I can't believe we have 52 different contributing authors to this book. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I love you, my friend.
I love
Mwah!
you. Okay.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
wonderful
much.
weekend.
And thank you to all of you who are watching and tuning into this. Until next time, keep raising the vibration, everybody. Bye, Sondra.
Bye bye.